Morning,
Okay. Wait, here, Teresa. Hey, can I introduce you just real quickly
You bet.
before
Go
you
ahead.
get started? So I just want to let people know where they're at. You are at the Creator Studio here at the Fave Biz Society, and we have a guest today, Teresa, Leftenant. And Teresa, I'm so thrilled that you are here because I know money mindset is something that blocks a lot of women. It's overwhelming. There's so many emotions that go along with this, and to have some new habits. I'm really excited to see what you have for us today. So I will let you take over.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for everyone that is joining us today. What I'm here to do today is to give you a couple of experiences that will hopefully help you understand a little bit more about your own personal relationship with money, and then maybe even an aha or two that can help you improve that relationship with money. You know, it seems like since I was in diapers, money has been the doorway of my personal transformation. My first job was in a bank, and I have been in financial services my entire career. I became a financial advisor at age 30, opened my own wealth management and financial planning practice in 2003. So imagine how many conversations that I've had about money, about all the different variety of decisions that we all have to make. And in my own messing up about money, which you'll hear about, I realized that there is something that I'm missing. It's not all about just what I learn about out there that people tell me I should do, or even what I was learning as a financial advisor. There was something about me personally, something about who I was and what I knew or didn't know that was causing me to have these big mistakes with money. So through my career, I went on a personal growth journey. I learned a lot of lessons. I totally transformed my life with money and my results. And I just started to have this, it was more than a passion as I was speaking to my clients and helping women kind of clear out their messed up financial lives. It became a real purpose, a real desire to help women in particular figure out what it was about them that they could develop and learn more about who they are as a human being. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little fun, maybe test some exercises that I use in my program. I think that what we women suffer from is stress about money. So I created the money stress solution. And these are some essential habits that we can learn as women that will give us more confidence with money, more clarity around what we really want money to do for us, and then give us that, what women really want. They want to feel peaceful about their money. So feeling that well-being, like I have it under control, no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. And to know that that is something that a woman can do on her own, that she has everything she needs inside, and she can work with whatever she wants to on the outside to make her financial life work. So I'm wondering if you have ever had any of these thoughts. So, will I have enough? I'm not really very good with money. I don't know what I want. These are the top 3 statements that women say to me over and over and over. And some of the other statements that they say to me are, I'm really so embarrassed about my financial situation, or I should be further than I am. I wonder what's wrong with me. I just know I'm going to end up a bag lady. Have any of you had any of those thoughts or similar thoughts like that? Well, if you have, you're very normal, because that's really the plight of women when it comes to managing our money. And there's so many reasons about that. We know what they are. It's programming from our parents. It's society trying to put us into a little role that maybe we don't want to be in. But what I am here to tell you is that wherever you are right now with your money, you are not locked in to creating the same mistakes you've made or having the same situation. All you need to do is make a decision that you're going to work with who you are on the inside and develop some habits to help you have what you really want. And after all, that's why we are on the planet, to pursue what we want and get what we want. So this relationship with money, in a broader context, it's like psychology, right? It's how we think and feel and behave with money. That is what I focus on. So we really can reinvent our relationship with money. You know, I was looking at some statistics yesterday in preparation, and I was so surprised about these numbers. So the Motley Fool says that right now, the average amount of money for most Americans in their retirement plan is $65,000. And the average amount of money in a savings account in a bank for most Americans is around $60,000. So what does that tell me? Well, it means that Americans are doing pretty good with their emergency funds, but they really aren't doing very well with their long-term planning, their retirement planning or long-term goals. So another statistic you might find interesting is that in, I think it was 2021, there was about 21 million millionaires in America. So based on the fact that we have about 350 million people in the country, that's 6%. Now, ask yourself this question: why aren't there more millionaires? What do you think is the reason? Now, here's another statistic that will help put this in context. Why is it important to do better with our long-term planning? Because you've probably seen this out on the internet and with all the information out there about what financial advisors tell you you should do. The average goal for a retirement plan to be able to replace an income was around $1 million. Now, I don't know what your income is, or what it would take to replace your income when you decide you don't want to work as hard. That is based on a lot of different factors, right? But the issue is that now, given circumstances, most financial advisors are saying $1 million will not be enough to maintain a 6-figure income expense for a potentially 25 to 30-year retirement. Now, when you put that into context in your own life, that's when you can begin to ask yourself, all right, what are my priorities and what do I really want? And can I afford to allow myself to continue to just let things be the way they are? So we have a lot of financial education out there, right? The internet is full of it. Lots of advertisements on television. We can learn whatever we want to learn about investing or saving or whatever. But financial education is not enough for women because they do not feel that they have the confidence nor the inner power to actually make the tough financial choices that, frankly, men feel very comfortable doing. So men and women do not play on the same field, so to speak, when it comes to making the kinds of financial decisions you need to make to plan for your future, as well as live for what's important to you today. So how do we do that? Well, women have the superpowers. We really have a lot more going for ourselves than men do when it comes to our inner power. The problem is that a lot of us haven't really taken the time or made the effort to focus those inner powers on our money, on our financial choices. And that's because we are all confused. We're scared about it. We have all these thoughts and feelings about money. We have a chaotic feeling and thoughts about money. So that's what I'm going to help my clients do, is kind of clear that out and get really focused and energized around using who they really are with their money. Control their thoughts and learn from their emotions. Become intentional about actions and behavior. And of course, what that means, we all love that word, intention. What does an intention mean? It means following through. It means having a plan. And then to think about habits with money and inner habits, bringing those superpowers, that inner power, to financial decisions, to think about that just like you have health habits, just like you have an exercise habit. And so that's what I love teaching women. You can install these ideas into your life and use them every day. And that means slowly but surely over time, things will change. So let's just talk a little bit about what's been your story with money. Because whenever you want to change something, and I'm assuming if you're here, there's something inside of you that's like, yeah, I'd like to do something a little different here. I'd like to have a better result. And so when we think about change, we have to look at where we are, right? And these are the kinds of questions that I ask my clients to reflect on. We can't change the past. All we can do is shape the future, but we can use the past to help us learn the lessons and to make new choices. So some of the questions that I ask my clients to reflect on, and feel free to close your eyes and just ponder these questions as I say a few of them out loud. So what role does money really play in your life? And how do you interact with money? Do you energetically engage with your financial decisions, or do you hold back and resist and delay? And then how has your financial situation changed? Is it better than it was 5 years ago? Is it worse than it was 5 years ago? That's kind of all we can expect, right? Just a progression of growing closer and closer to whatever goal is important to us. And then how much importance do you place on money? I have a lot of people in my practice say, well, I can't really make very much money because that wouldn't be spiritual. It's much better for me to give my services away, you've heard this, than it is for me to stand in my power and ask for what I deserve because of all the time and energy and experience I have. So what is that for you? And then what rules do you play with money? If you're married, do you have the rule that you step back and let your spouse take the lead, or do you take the lead? Of course, we want to know what our parents modeled for us. What my parents modeled for me, and that's why I say that money is my doorway to transformation, is that my money was a constant source of conflict in my family. My father was a banker, but he had dreams of being a millionaire. And all the extra money he made, he wanted to invest in something. And in my case, I grew up in Twin Falls, Idaho. And so what did my dad want to be? He wanted to be a wealthy rancher. He wanted to have cows and horses and farmland. And he kept investing in that. Well, those business ideas never really came to fruition. And so there was always debt to pay. So what did I decide as a young adult? That there was never going to be enough money, that I was always going to have to use debt to bail myself out, and that I did not deserve to have any financial abundance. So I don't know if you have some similar, those are kind of common, but because of that, even as I was advising other people about their financial lives, I was investing in things I shouldn't have. I was creating debt. I was getting myself into so much debt that I couldn't pay my bills every month. And there was a moment in my life in my early 40s where the whole thing blew up. I was supposed to get this big promotion that was going to give me this humongous raise. And I just knew I was going to get that promotion. And of course I did not, because actually I was never the person who could have handled that job, because I was irresponsible. I didn't really show up. I didn't keep my word, but I didn't know anything of this about myself, right? I was unconscious. And that experience sort of put me in a moment where I said, oh my goodness, I have all these problems in front of me. I've created all these problems. One I didn't mention, I had been married and divorced 3 times. And I was able to see in a moment, oh, I'm the common denominator in all of these problems. I can blame other people and I complain about how, what a victim I am. But in actuality, it is me. I'm the one. And I just said out to the universe, okay, if it is me, I have no idea what to do next. So I really need your help. I need you to show me, what am I supposed to do? And I was gifted the answer within 1 week. Within a week, I was sent a brochure in the mail for a self-esteem workshop. And I remember going to a dictionary, remember the old dictionaries, and saying, what is the definition of self-esteem? I did not even know that. So I went to that workshop, and I somehow, this spark was ignited inside of me of, I need to figure this out. And this is the way, this is the path. Because of my passion, which you can hear in my voice, because it was so meaningful to me, I've been guided to work with almost, you name a personal development master, and I've probably heard them live, gone to their workshops. I have had an amazing experience of almost 25 years now of this personal growth journey, which is why it is my responsibility to pass on what I learned and how I transform my life. Just so you know, I had tens of thousands of credit card debt. I was a terrible employee. My children were not being raised properly because I was so wound up in my own self-pity. I was able to teach my children what I know. They are now have wonderful careers on their own. They're beautiful people. I started my own practice from zero in 2003, and I have a thriving financial planning practice. I married my fourth husband, and we've been just happily married. He's like a romance novel with me. So I changed my entire life by these tools and these habits that I teach. And I wanted to touch on, I'm sure I'm not going to be able to touch on one probably, but these habits are really easy to understand. And the self-liberation habit is about experiencing those inner qualities: self-esteem, self-confidence, self-trust, self-respect, and self-efficacy. And we build all of those inner qualities. So no matter what decision you're facing, no matter what happens in your life, you can use that core engine of incredible inner power from having all of those 5 superpowers really solid and really engaged. I teach the responsibility habit. And that is, number one, that you are responsible, 100% responsible for what you create, but you also have the responsibility to respond instead of react based on what you want, And life becomes a lot easier when you do that, right, ladies? Then we look at our inner strengths. These are the things that we can turn back and look at and say, what are all the successes I've done in my life? What has been really superly wonderful in the past? What about me did I bring to those experiences? And make a list and really get concretely clear about the parts of you that are unique and are really there for you when you need them. The high standards habit is about, a lot of people don't even realize that they have values around money. I have a unique way of figuring out what those values are, and it's called the Financial Roadmap Questionnaire. So understanding what you really care about is so helpful when you decide money decisions. And then we create some personal principles, some high standards that you always know you have with all of the money. The mind management habit is my personal structure of changing limiting beliefs and negative thoughts. The attraction habit is, I have studied the law of attraction ever since 1998. I've seen Abraham many, many times, and it's a daily practice for me to study the law of attraction. So I feel like I have broken it down pretty well to help women understand this is another superpower you have. Your inner being, your intuition, that's the part of you that can really draw you toward those inner yearnings that you have, those goals that you just know you have to do, right? Don't know why. It's a pain in the you know what, but you just have to do those things. I love that feeling, don't you? the final thing that we talk about is the personal manifesto. And I wanted to show you an example of this. So this is my personal manifesto. And you can see it's statements of who I am around money, what my stand is, what my goals are. I speak my truth boldly around money. I'm a risk taker and a change maker. So we put this together in, like, you can frame this, put it on your wall, you can put it on your computer as a screensaver, and just have it there to remind you when things get tough, which they do, don't they? So the self-liberation habit, I want to just jump into our first exercise, and that is allowing your self-confidence to increase. You know what I think? Self-confidence, now self-esteem is very important. They're very close. But what self-confidence, how it is different from self-esteem, is that self-confidence is our attitude about our skills and abilities. And when we have a really strong feeling about what we can do, then we know we have more control. And that gives us the ability to make those choices. Now, when we lack self-confidence, you know how that feels. You doubt yourself, you're passive or submissive, you don't trust yourself, you feel inferior. So I almost think like the feeling of lack of confidence, which of course you can have confidence in one area of your life and not in another, right? But the lack of self-confidence is one of the worst feelings, I think, to have. And so it really helps to spend some time building your confidence. So let's take a little moment to do this exercise. This is my confidence checklist. And I'm just going to run through these really quickly. And when you hear one and it hits you strongly, like you know this is you, then I want you to put a mark or a check mark on a piece of paper. And then at the end, we'll count them up and talk about not only your current level of confidence with money, but how you could improve your confidence. So here we go. Open to learning new skills. If that's you, make a mark. Realize and acknowledge my current skills. Easily try things outside my comfort zone. Talk freely about money. Set financial goals and accomplish them. Learn from mistakes and move on. Keep track of my progress financially. Feel happy and satisfied with money most of the time. Know my core values with money. Regularly overcome those pesky negative thoughts that I have about money. Know where I'm going in life. Don't compare myself to others. Can change a bad habit with money. Practice positive affirmations about money. And last, I'm in a better place financially than I was 5 years ago. All right, count how many checks or marks that you have. And here's my highly scientific key of what your marks mean. So if you have, between 0 and 5, you lack self-confidence. If you have between 5 and 10, you feel confident half of the time, basically. And if you have more than 10 and all the way up to all of them, you're confident 70 to 100% of the time. Yay! I can see her celebrating. All right, so let's open our mics just for a minute. And regardless of what your number is, let's just each say something like, what do you think it takes to be confident with money more than 70% of the time?
Being connected with source, whatever that means to that person. Yeah.
Love it. Being connected to source. And in what way connected? Say something.
Well, for me, and it's probably different for other people, but being it's kind of a spiritual perspective, kind of like the the avatar, I think it is, like plugging myself in. There's an image that I have of like, if I can plug myself into the wall of electricity, right? God, universe, whatever,
Right.
money becomes just another thing that allows, flow and ease.
Right.
Whatever.
I was hoping you would say that word. Money is just a flow, that it's a
Yeah.
tool that we use. And we give it meaning, right? Many times. And
Yeah.
sometimes the meaning is not so helpful. Thank you, Janice, for that.
Yeah, I'd like to add too, a while back you asked the question, something like, what's the first image or relationship you have with money? And what came up for me was oil and a car engine. But kind of just, it's that lubricant that allows movement.
I
Yeah.
love it. That's an excellent analogy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Marcia? What would it take to be confident with money more than 70% of the time?
Oh man, I probably I grew up in the money doesn't grow on trees. I'm not made of money, blah blah blah, always
Yeah.
they were always in debt. We never have enough. All of that. I've worked really hard on self-development as well over the years, but I don't know that I've ever done anything but avoid my relationship with money. I'm an avoider, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, I actually do have a pension, which is, shocking in this day and age, but I worked 40 years for the railroad. So I have that foundation, but it's just never enough. So I'm supplementing my income a lot of different ways just
Right.
to. I don't ever want to be. I'm financially better than I was 5 years ago.
Very nice.
But I've used this house I live in as a very giant ATM machine. So it's a
You know,
wonderful thing. Yeah.
what I would comment there, Marcia, is, our circumstances are, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Our circumstances are our circumstances.
Yes.
We always are doing the best we can, no
Mhm.
matter what. The thing is that how we think and behave around those circumstances is what gives us a sense of peace or settling or feeling confident. So I think that, and
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
appreciate what you're saying.
I always think that I never have been in a lack of, I've always been abundance. There's
Yeah,
so much money out there. It's
there is.
crazy. So there'll always be enough money.
Yeah.
That's, so I've never really worried too much about that, but I could do better in
And
the whole planning thing.
that thought, Marcia, that there's always enough money and there's abundance all over, that is a confidence builder.
Yeah.
Right there. Karen, what about you?
Yeah, going through this, I'm kind of like Marcia, I'm an avoider. And so I guess for me to, and I forget now what the original question was, but I think
what would it take to be confident more than 70% of the time?
Yeah, you know what I think it is just being open and willing to looking at this list here that you have, being open and willing to look at my finances, to be open and willing to change how I'm that thought process and the way that I'm approaching finances and not being afraid of it. And, I have been through a lot of transitions, in my life here in the last, 5 or 6 years. And so it's a whole new area, but I love being able, and I think one of my superpowers is being able to tap into those people like you who can help us get over these things.
Yes.
Because I realize I have a lack in this area, and to know that I can expand, I can learn, I can gain some new perspective on this and not be afraid because you're going to be there holding my hand.
Right, exactly. I mean, it is just a matter of making a choice right in this moment. I think I'm going to pay a little bit more attention. I'm going to seek out some more information, and I'm not going to feel bad about myself. all those things, because we really are always doing the best. So Melissa, are you there? Would you like to add anything? She's probably out of the room. So why don't we move on? I hope did you find that checklist helpful?
Can I add something? I'm
Yes.
Tina.
Oh, good. Hi.
Hi. For me, the biggest thing is mindset. And I grew up in a German family, but living in Australia. And my mum came from a very wealthy family. And so I had it very differently. But my mum was brutal with money with us kids. And she goes, if you're going to borrow from me, which I did to get to America to study. And it was at that time for me a lot of money, 4,000 to make everything that I needed to earn to get here. Because she always says, if you want to achieve anything, you do it yourself. We're not here. We're here to support you with love, but not finances.
Right.
So her way of teaching me was an 18% compounding interest monthly to pay back the money. And let's just say that was a brutal awakening. But my mum would say, that's what life's about.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And if you want to get anywhere, you have to.
So what's your level of confidence now? I mean, do you feel like you're highly confident because of that experience, Melissa?
No, I'm Tina.
Sorry, Tina, I didn't see you there. Sorry.
Yeah. So no, I think I'm confident where I am 5 years from now is my investments are great, but my day-to-day is poor. And I think also changing from a career that I had for 29, 30 years to something totally different is put me in a tailspin.
Of course.
Of working out, God, can I really do this? Am I just unrealistic? Or as my new coach told me, altruistic. So it's that's what I'm changing. And I'm doing a lot of classes on the brain and resetting the brain and brain mindset change. And it really is the mindset of how you can change it. And that's
I totally agree with you. And so how would you ladies like to jump on and jump forward, and let's do an exercise on that, our mindset. So one of the things that I had to learn when I was doing all of my original and initial personal development was about awareness, that there actually is a part of ourselves that can be aware of anything. Like, for instance, close your eyes really quick and put your awareness on your right hand. And now move your awareness to your left foot. And now put your awareness on your heart. And put your awareness on your current thought. See if you can hear it. And put your awareness on your current feeling, your emotion, and see if you can name it. So we can move our awareness. You can open your eyes. We can move our awareness around pretty easily, can't we? We have that ability. And it's so nice to know that you do not have to allow the unconscious to guide you, as many quotes say, is that if you leave the unconscious unexamined, it will guide your life and you will call it fate. So this is what our first challenge is, right? Our first challenge is to separate those thoughts that are actually not helpful, not supportive of what we want. Now, we got a million thoughts, right? 50,000 a day is what they say. So it's pretty impossible to get to all of them. But what you can do is ask your inner being, what are the thoughts that are causing me problems when it comes to my financial goals? Help me figure those thoughts out. And once you place awareness on your thoughts, then you can plug that thought into a proven process of change. So let's see how this works. This is a process that I started learning back in 1998. Many coaches use a similar process for changing things, but what I call this is the it's the life enhancing, abundance growing process. Because if you learn this and you integrate it, and you can do it easily every single day if you want to learn more about your negative thinking and to transform it. So here's how it works. We have a circumstance or an event in our life. We're going to do an example here in just a minute. So just let me explain the concept of it to you. We have this circumstance or event, something that we don't have a lot of control over. And that triggers a thought that automatically comes into our mind. It might be a lot of thoughts. It might be these beliefs. And, thoughts are just sentences that you have in your mind that are based on programming. Beliefs are sentences that you've thought over and over and over and have gone underground, and now they really control you. And so those things are triggered by whatever this circumstance is. When you have those thoughts, an emotion comes up, a feeling, and we name that feeling. We name the feeling hopelessness, we name the feeling sad, we name the feeling frustrated, and we're pretty good at naming our feelings. That's one of our superpowers, ladies. Well, that feeling is what generates whatever action, behavior, or inaction comes next. And that is the cause of our results, whatever the experience is. Maybe it's we don't have enough money every month in our bank account. So the cool thing about this process is that whatever you notice, you can plug right into this formula. So if you have a result that you don't like, you can back up. Now, what was the action that caused that result? Oh, how was I feeling before I took that action? You can examine all of this. So you want to try this with one of your thoughts. Now, if you can peel one out or think of one that you normally think of, you can use something that I said in the beginning. I'm going to use the I'm not good with money negative belief because I hear it a lot. And so you can use that one for yourself if it feels like that's you, or you can come up with something else. So here's a good way to do that is just if you have a piece of paper, write these down on the left-hand side of the paper and leave some space underneath each word so that you have room to fill it in. Is that clear? Okay. All right. So I have this thought. I'm not very good with money. So what is your thought? Just fill it in underneath you writing thoughts and beliefs. Just fill it in. My thought is, I'm not good with money. Now, what was the circumstance or event that caused me to have that thought? Well, I'm filling in a recent experience of an unexpected bill. Water heater went out. So I'm not good with money. What feeling did I have? And what my feelings were, I was frustrated and I doubted myself. So based on your thought, what feelings do you have when you have the thought? And then you have these feelings. So you've got this circumstance of unexpected bill. The thought about it is I'm not good with money. You feel frustrated and doubt. So what do? Well, in my case, charged on the credit card. Now, that may or may not be what I really, that fits my goals, right? And in this case, it does not fit my goals. So the result is I have more debt and I end up having to spend more on the bill because of the higher interest rate. Everybody got there? Have you guys gone through the process? Have you got yours down? I wish we had time to talk about it, but I want to make a couple more points before we get to the end of our time. And the most important point right here is that after you experience the result, something else happens. And that is you make a judgment and you decide whether or not you're happy or unhappy with the results. So just for fun, what would the level of happiness be on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's say 0 is sad and depressed and 10 is excited and powerful. What would be the level of happiness in this circumstance? You can speak a number. 2. I was like a 4, you know? And so you can see that we think we are a victim of circumstances, don't we? Sometimes. But you don't have to be a victim of circumstances, because you can change one thing in this whole system. What's the one thing you can change? Your thought. And if you change your thought, what's going to happen? Everything will change. So let's go and do that. How do you change a thought? So this is the step in between where you transform the thought. And in this case, my negative thought is, I'm not very good with money. And what is the way that that thought limits me? Well, it convinces me I shouldn't even try. But the way I really want to be and act and feel, what do I really want here? Well, I want to be empowered and confident to make the financial decisions that will help me create my financial vision. So what's a new thought that would affirm this for me? Well, I created a thought here. I'm taking new steps every day to be an excellent decision maker with money. So instead of thinking that old thought, I'm not good with money, I will think that thought, right? I will think it, but I'm aware of it so that I can take a moment and say, actually, I'm going to change my thought here. And my new thought is, I'm taking new steps every day to be an excellent decision maker with money. Make sense? Okay, so let's go through the process again and see what happens now. So I still have the same circumstance, unexpected bill or expense. I may be triggered that old thought, but I change it to, I am taking new steps every day to be an excellent decision maker with money. What's the feeling I have? Optimism, determination. And what's the action I take? Well, I set up an automatic monthly transfer to my savings. So the result is emergency fund. Simple example, but it really is, I hope, helpful for you to see that this is a very powerful way for you to shift your whole experience with money. And what do you think my level of happiness factor is now? Much, much higher. I create my own happiness. Isn't that wonderful? Thank you. All right, so since we're coming to 9 minutes, I do want you to remember this. You can't create a positive life with a negative mind. And if there is one thing that I hope to leave you with today, is that just use this money management process habit to shift your negative mind, because it's there, right? Isn't it, ladies? All the time, every day, thinking negatively. And that's because we are pushing ourselves, right? We're pushing our envelope, we're growing ourselves. And you know, what was really helpful for me to realize, especially in studying the law of attraction, is that everything I'm experiencing right now in my life, and some of it I like and some of it I don't like, but everything's based on what I thought back then. Behind me, past, I've already had those thoughts. So if I focus on what I have right now, then I'm just going to keep creating what I have right now. And you guys are nodding because you get this. We have to change our negative mind into positive, supportive thoughts for what we want. So we're creating that in the future. Isn't it exciting? All right, go ahead and ask me any questions, and then I will give you an offer.
Tresa, thank you so much. I love this quote. You can't create a positive life with a negative mind. Oh my gosh. I think that says it all right there. But I just wanted to thank you for joining us. I'm actually going to turn off the recording now.
Okay.